And here we are. So I was contacted by a gentleman on Twitter whom I don't think I've ever talked to before.
No, we haven't.
And okay, and he said, "Hey, maybe you wanted to have a chat about I don't know race, current events, my views, your views." I believe you said you were a teacher,
Yeah, I am a teacher.
right? And there's been a lot of stuff in the news recently with the teachers and cops, of course, and race relations is always something popping off. And so I said, okay, what the hell? I'm sitting here in a Vegas hotel room, and it's Saturday morning, and the UFC is not for many hours, so I have time to kill. So what do I call you?
Um, you can call me Mr. Hines.
Mr. Hans?
Hines,
Okay.
Hines.
Oh, Heinz, like the ketchup.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Hines, so what is on your mind, and what brings you to me?
I've been watching your channel for like, I don't know, the past 8 months. Even before the whole race thing started with the Amazing Atheist and the Jacqueline Glenn thing.
Oh,
And
okay.
I just wanted to really pick your brain about why do you think, and I wanted to give some insight about why that's happening too. Why do you think that people are so aggravated when you bring up those statistics of young black men committing most crimes, or not, a whole lot of the crimes in America?
Well, because it's a topic that nobody wants to talk about in any real way. And people say the messenger doesn't matter, the messenger shouldn't matter, and it's not the case. The messenger does matter. I could say the exact same things that you say, and I will get called a variety of names that you will not be called. Now you'll get called names that I will not be called
Right.
if you were to say the things I said. But it's just the technique is the same. They just don't want certain truths to be discussed, and they're uncomfortable with any sort of narrative that is not getting on your hands and knees and flogging yourself and saying, I'm so sorry about slavery and all this stuff. It's just such weakness, and it's such a blind spot in many communities, including the liberal left, where you get these bleeding heart people that feel like it's their obligation to parent black people and to give them a pass on a variety of things. And so the fact that I'm white, the fact that I'm living in Germany, even though I'm in Vegas now, the fact that I have a shaved head, the fact that I'm unapologetic and I'm not pulling my punches is all stuff that rubs them the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that call me racist, they're people that are from white suburban neighborhoods. They're people that don't understand the reality of black crime. You're never going to get a guy from Cincinnati to call me racist.
Right.
I'm hanging out here in Vegas with a friend of mine from Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
He's the last guy that would ever, he's like, why would they call you racist? For what? 2 weeks ago, he got mugged in New York City at knife point by a black guy.
Uh-huh.
And, I mean, he knows there's white thugs out there. He's, Eminem is no angel, but like, it's just the way it is. And people freak out and they'll start smearing and saying, hey, are you saying all black people steal you at knife point? No, I'm saying if you're in New York, the chances are it is going to be.
Right.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest problems people have with you is that you bring out the statistics and then you say you don't care why. I just wanted to pick your brain about why don't you care why the statistics are the way they are? Because in my mind, we look at statistics, right? And we want to see what trends we want to keep going and what trends we want to change. And I think that a lot of people may be upset because when you say you don't care about the causes of said statistics, you're saying you don't care about changing them. And I think that's being misconstrued.
Yeah, they're conflating a variety of things. First of all, obviously on a larger scale, I care about problems. I would love for there not to be these problems in these communities. I would love my nation to be a safer place where everybody can thrive and be happy. Now, I'm not stupid enough and naive enough to think that I can snap my fingers or that anything you and I say right now is going to change anything significantly. Because, change takes a long time. And first of all, to even be commenting on a problem is to say you care. Me pointing out a problem is addressing it. I mean, I am always going after the squeaky wheel. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, hey, you know what you and I got to really talk about for the next hour is Asian college, enrollment.
Right.
And the reason we're not talking about it is because it's not a problem. It's like, good for them. More power to them. So the reasons why it's such a slippery slope, and I see it all of the time. Are you talking about reasons why in some sort of a theoretical sense, like, God, if we tweak this part of society, or if we implement this policy, this might help with this? You know, when you're talking about crime, these are inexcusable actions taken by that segment of the population, taken by any criminal segment. You know, so I'm talking about that, and I'm saying the onus is on the black community or any criminal community to fix their shit. It's not our responsibility. And people get this really twisted, and they are blaming people that really don't deserve to be blamed, and they're just skirting all responsibility.
Right. Because I work in the inner city schools in Memphis, and I have a firsthand experience of seeing like the type of family structure a lot of these kids, some who may become criminals. You know, I don't want to put that on anybody, but you know, it's a possibility. Some who may become criminals, and just seeing the environment they're cultivated in. And another thing that you say, I think rubs people the wrong way, is that you said they should stop committing crimes. That's what you said, right?
Yeah, but see, already I'm already out of context. So
Right.
people act like they quote me on this, and it's a sentence fragment. First of all, I said the original context was, if these people want to bitch and bitch and bitch about police brutality and the fact that police have to deal with this segment of the population, it's not just random. Police do not just wake up and go, you know what, let me go fuck with some black people. It's because they are confronting the cops. They are the ones committing the disproportionate amount of crime, and they are upping their chances of having, these sort of things go awry. If you resist arrest, if you get arrested, if you're dealing with the cops on a daily basis, of course, what do you expect is going to happen there? So that was the context. Now, maybe they should stop committing crime in the sense of, yes, we can talk about police brutality. Yes, there are instances of it which are heinous and terrible, but let's have some perspective here. The Black Lives Matter movement, not talking about, the shit going on in Chicago, not talking about the bulk of the problem here. I mean, that's absurd. And you'll get black people who step up and say, yeah, police brutality. Yeah, we get it. How about black brutality? How about the black brutality to blacks? And it's ignored. And that is what is offensive to me, is that there's no proportionality when we talk about these things.
Do you think, because I know of some things in Memphis here, there are plenty of things to address black on black crime. The people at my school, they lead an institute for young black men, and helping them become professionals, deterring them away from street life and such. They even have those types of things in Chicago. Do you think those things, it would be better if those things were given more media attention?
Well, I mean, the media attention, that's just a PR game. I mean, I'm in favor of a multi-pronged attack to help all these societal problems. And society has tried to do this. These are not easy fixes across the board. I mean, and you see how widespread it is. It's not just a little problem. It's not just a problem that's a new phenomenon. It's, a massive problem. And once again, the thing that depresses me, and you've touched on it, is it goes back to the family.
Right.
And if your family is fucked, and if your father, I mean, that's over, it's a joke. It's a joke for me to even
You're
say
right.
where the father.
Messed up that we're laughing at it.
Yeah, right. And so it's like, and I listen to Tommy Sotomayor, and
I watch him on and off. I feel he on point about certain things.
Yeah, he has some extreme views, and he's got his like personal sort of vendettas against black women, but it's not just on the black man, is what one of the things I gather from him. You can't just be like, these guys are just skirting their responsibility. It's like the black women sort of are culpable in this arrangement as well, and they're not exactly angels. It's not, I mean, so here's the problem. Parents that shouldn't be parents are parents.
Right.
And the marriage is not unified. There is no economic security. Yeah, exactly. And so you're starting with, way behind. You're starting in a situation that's not anywhere near ideal. Look, I'm walking around Vegas. There are some fat motherfuckers out here, people that are disgusting. And I'm coming from Europe, so it's a shock to me to see these body types again. And of course they're having kids, and of course they're fucked up. I see drug addicts, I see crackheads, and they have kids. I see homeless people with kids. It's like, of course we're not going to, start doing eugenics and say, okay, well, we're going to tell you who can procreate and who can't. But it's like, my God, what do we expect? These kids are so. As far as the Black community and the family unit, I mean, how do you fix that?
I don't know. I was talking with my father. I was raised in a 2-parent home, and like being raised in a 2-parent home and going to school with children who weren't, there were like huge differences, you know. Like they would come over my house and never want to leave because I'm guessing I didn't know it as a kid, but there was a structure at my house that they didn't have. And I guess kids do kind of like that structure, but my father and I were talking about like it went from the 60s to where there was this need for Black people to be together. The 70s where there was this, okay, we're making gains and rights, so now we're taking political offices. Here in Memphis, we have like one of the first Black United States representatives from here, Harold Ford Sr., go on to be the United States representative. And in the 80s, I'm not sure what happened, but things just slipped. And then the 90s came and the family structure was all but dissimulating.
Well, I put it on Tupac pretty much. No, but yeah, those trends are shocking to see it go down like that. You know, as far as single parent, it's not just that, because white people have a huge amount of single parents.
Right.
I mean, it's not like marriage in the white community is doing that great either.
When I say
it does much.
I don't mean like, oh, they stay with the mom, but they see their dad. I mean, the father or no other parent is actively in their life.
Yeah, and that should be a distinction to be made, because it's not like the guy has 2 Christmases and, you know, he's sharing time between 2 parents who are still present in the life. I mean, there should be a category for that, because we're talking about total absence.
Yeah.
And, you know, and of course that puts a burden and a strain economically and socially, and this whole thing about respecting authority. You know, this is just a non-existent thing, as far as I can tell. And you see what happens in the schools. Have you seen the videos like this week
of the children and the substitute?
Well, there was that one. I mean, what do you think on that? I mean, that's just.
I feel like that's a whole new different conversation, man, about the fabrics of the school system breaking down, and as well as things within the Black community, because they just basically took advantage of that lady. And what that says to me, there was no structure in that classroom to begin with. Right.
Now, it's always a little bit unfair to just extrapolate off one instance, but because, you know, substitute teachers have been picked on for years and in every community, but the nature, and you would know better than I, but the common way it is in Black majority schools.
It's very disheartening. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we're going to have Michelle Pfeiffer come in and save the day, and, you know, cut to a Coolio song and everything's going to be okay. we can't do that. And you ask those teachers and those principals, and they're like, look, we're just trying to hold down the fort here. We have no expectations that we're going to get a significant amount of these people graduating, going to college. It's an impossibility. It's not even expected of them.
Right.
So, and you know, what kind of a life path are you going to be on if you're dropping out of high school? You have no degree from high school, let alone college, let alone a skill, a trade. So now how are you going to do? How are you going to compete in the job market?
You can't.
Right. I mean, it's going to take a hell of a lot. Meanwhile, there's bills to pay, there's realities, there's social groups that are pressuring you to do one thing or another. You know, all of that.
The jobs that they have available to them are basically crap jobs. Most poor people I know work 2, maybe 3 jobs.
Yes, and that's, you know, something to be said for the evisceration of the middle class. I mean, it's damn hard to just make it in general. And I'm talking about college graduates. You know, there's no guarantee of anything. People don't give a shit. You know,
there's a lot of assumptions in schools too, that all those kids who are like maybe self-destructing teens, they don't have caring parents. And a lot of these parents, and I work with them, and they are very concerned, but like I just said, they work a lot. So it goes from this extreme of you have some parents who don't care, like we talk about parents who shouldn't be parents, and you have those parents who are trying to do the best they can to provide, but that sacrifices a lot of their time, and they don't have time to actually raise their kids, and they leave it to a school to raise their kids. And the school system, I know in Memphis, is suffering right now, and they're not in a position to even do that or even try to attempt to do that.
Yeah, it's a very stark difference between people that have parental figures, and I think there's something to be said for a male influence on a young man, and you see it in college sports, man, where these black athletes will come into